Hi, family. My name is Willie Green, aka Dr. Financial Literacy, and thank you very much for stopping by. This is another episode of my journey in terms of reducing debt and consolidating some of my debt and running experiments in terms of getting a HELOC, HELOAN, all-in-one mortgage, velocity banking, and trying to bring it to the viewers so that we can all, or we can have a better understanding. So thus far, I really thank you and appreciate you coming along. Let's go ahead and get into today's episode. Hope everyone is doing well today. Sorry about that. So this is day two, Velocity Banking, HELOC, all-in-one mortgage. I'm looking to try to pay off one of my three mortgages. Financial capacity, ability is the capacity to use your behavior, attitude, skills, and knowledge within your community and your environment to manage your financial resources effectively, efficiently, and equitably at all levels of your life and inside of your community. And that's what I hope to do. Velocity banking is a strategy where you use a revolving line of credit. In this case, I'm using a credit card, but you may use what's called a HELOC or some other debt instrument, checking to replace your checking and savings account to help pay off debt, such as a car, student loans, or store credit. In a traditional banking cash flow, you receive your check, you deposit it into an institution, or you just straight cashed it, and you may have used a debit card, pay your bills, and then what's left over would be considered somewhat your cash flow or discretionary income. And velocity banking is similar. You receive a paycheck. You can place that in the bank and use a bank as your cash flow instrument, and it could be placed on a debit card, and where you want to pay your bills and a portion of it. So that also, like the traditional, leaves a cash flow. And in the case of velocity banking, we want to park that or leave that in the debt instrument that we can pay down and constantly use. This is the bank account or the credit card that I'll be using. As you see, it had a previous balance, but I made sure I zeroed it out, and I do have a credit of $40 on it. But this card has a limit of $6,200 and cash limit of 1860. Another word for a cash advance. This is what I'll be pulling off of this card. This card has an annual percentage rate of 18%, and it also is capped at 18% in terms of cash advance. Some of the other cards, or all of my cards, are above 20% and right at 32%. So I'll be using this card at 18%. The great thing about, or the thing about velocity banking is the daily rate of how much you're being charged. That's really important. But the interest rate is important, but it's that daily rate. And by placing your check or park it, you're reducing the principal, which reduces the daily rate. So I've already started. I received help over the phone to get the cash advance of 1860. And some deductions have already occurred. I paid the electric bill out of it and went to a grocery store. So the objective is to park your paycheck and on a revolving card that you can go in and out and reduce the principal of it. Now, this particular card didn't have a debt on it, but it had the lowest interest rate. So I'm taking funds from that and I'm going to place it somewhere else on another card. But for now, I'm using it to pay bills. I wanted to see how much it costs and other aspects of it. So the first thing was just doing the cash advance and getting used to or accustomed to what are some of the things that I'm doing. But ultimately, I'm going to take this cash advance and put it on pay out the other debt with it. This was just a comparison, left and right of if I'm using the card at 18%, it has an average daily rate of about 90 cents compared to a card, which at the bottom you see 32.24 has a daily rate of $1.61. And we can go back and watch the other videos where I talked about the daily rate, and I'll calculate it next time in one of the other videos. Now, if I use the 18% card and I stick with this, just this, don't make any other deposits, I end up paying $167 about. Now, if I use the 32.24 highest card that I have, I end up paying $179 a month. In terms of the interest on 18 would be $184 compared to 338. So that you can see the difference in me going with the 18% capped versus the other card. Total payments would be 2004 versus 2008. But the thing about this either card, because I'm parking my paycheck in it, what some people have called it, is reducing the daily rate. This was just another comparison of the card. The card that I'm using had a limit of 2,000. I took off 1820. That left me with a balance of 43.80. If I would have used the other card, I only had a 2,000 limit. If I would have taken 1820 off of it, that would have left me with 180. In terms of some of the fees, the card that I'm using is from a credit union, so I think there are 0 fees. 0 if I use a teller at that particular bank, credit union, but if I go somewhere else, there may be a fee compared to the other company. There's possibly definitely a fee also. And at the ATM, what I did was I did use the card for 2,000. I made 2 withdrawals of 300. So I was charged $3 on each. And on top of that, there's a 3% charge. If I would have went in person, then I may not have paid the charge. The credit union, what I'm with is using Visa as a credit card. I don't know if that logo, I don't know if that makes a difference or not. Versus the private card that I'm used was a MasterCard. So that's just some of the difference, and I'll put it in a different sheet next time. I just recently got off work, but wanted to get this information out. This was just another comparison in using the card. These are 2 cards that I have from 2 different companies, and I'm carrying interest on it. The minimum payment on one was $230. Minimum payment on the another is $218. The interest was 154. The other interest was 117. So in general, that's about 270 in interest that I'm paying on just 2 cards. So it's important that I get this debt in control and move on and free up some cash flow to do some other things. One of the things that I needed to do to get the money from the cash advance, I needed to have a PIN. In some cases, your card PIN would be the same as maybe your teller PIN. So, but I went through the telephone and I established one. For this particular card, I'm limited to only 400 daily. If I go into the teller inside, then I can use more in general for both of the cards, I think. Another thing was the limit. So it's within a 24-hour period. So I went 11 o'clock and I tried to go again at 12:05 and it wouldn't give me anything. So I called the next day and they explained to me, well, Dr. Financial Literacy, it's a period and they're on the East Coast and my card is tied to the East Coast in terms of the period. So I had to wait 16 hours from yesterday to possibly go back again. So you want to check with your whichever card you use to find out what is daily considered to them, the time frame, and maybe what time zone that they're in. Because I thought I can get half of it at 11, then get the other half at 12:01, and no, it was cold outside and it didn't work. This is where my direct deposit is coming in. So that 1686.47 from my W-2 job is coming in on the 26th. So as soon as that come in, go ahead and dump it in there. These are my pay dates. So for January, getting paid on the 26th. And as soon as I get that, I will put that on the card. And that's going to bring down that should bring down the daily work rate somewhat. And that's the most important thing with the velocity banking. You're working with the average daily balance. And we need to also be aware of how to calculate that. I'll do that in the next video again. All right, so here we go. So the first credit card cash advance will be 1,860. We already have that. Waiting for my biweekly paycheck to hit. That's going to be on the 26th. It's not going to the credit union, so I have to transfer it from one account to another. That's another thing. You need to make sure we get your ducks in a row to make sure the accounts are set up. I'm kind of like doing it on the fly, so really moving to get it organized. The remaining cash flow, well, if I just put in my entire check compared to what I took out, there's still a shortage of 173. But it reduces the average daily balance, and that's going to come down lower once we start taking out some of the expenses, as we talked about in the earlier video. This was the house that I purchased in 2009 for 46,000. I owe 28,000 on it, and I want to use the velocity banking tool to get this debt down. But first, I need to work on also my consumer debt before I can really hit one of the mortgages. That was one of the sticking points when I went to get an all-in-one mortgage. They were looking at my debt to income ratio on the front end, on the back end, and I needed to bring it down. It ended up falling through. I could have find a co-signer, but I'm like, okay, just pull yourself up and let's move on to see how we can make that happen. This particular house, I have a current balance of 20,000. When COVID hit, I took some arrearage, and now I'm paying that. Well, I'm actually paying the regular one, but now the arrears, I have an agreement with all properties are on the back end. So when I either sell this house or do something with it, I still have to pay those arrears. It's not going away. It's sitting there. Some are with interest and some, I think one may not, but I need to check into that again. Okay, so the credit limit, to sum up, the credit limit I'm working with as a debt tool, 6,200. The cash advance that I'm taking off for velocity banking off of that card, $1,860. It's going to cost me 18%. Similar for purchase as well for the cash advance, so that was a surprise. I have 3 types of expenses in this last box, but I'm putting the personal expenses on there. I'm putting all my credit reporting expenses on there, and my housing, trying to shift some of the housing over there and figure out a way to get the rent paid through a credit card. All right, next steps. Just want to thank you all for hanging out with me. Looking at the steps to velocity banking with a credit card. If you're interested, please contact me. Let's see if we can work together and tackle your largest debt and try to bring that down. Here's my contact information and email. Please hit me up, and thank you very much for stopping by, and appreciate you. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.